Hello, Yankee farm wife here, drowning in the most recent grain delivery. For later. So many options this week, so little time. The most suggested topic was Justice Samuel Alito, but my son Matt reminded me that this is the week of Flag Day. Which begs the question for the justice. Martha, 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 aren't you tired of being in Martha's shadow all the time? And with that, Justice Alito, we put you aside for a different day to focus on your little flag-flying aficionado, Martha Ann. Martha, 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 do I have some questions for you? First, whenever you're at a party and start to run off at the mouth, do you ever hear a little voice inside your head growling, "Put the cocktail down"? I'm guessing that's a double shot of tequila, salt-rimmed with a lime wedge no. Here's your vocabulary word for today: abstinence, the fact or practice of restraining oneself from indulging in something, typically alcohol. Abstinence. You can't have said what you did at that party the other night unless you were either under the influence of booze or Alzheimer's. If it's the former, you simply must dump that margarita and duct tape your mouth before you shove your foot into it. And we had all thought your husband was a pathetic jerk when he blamed you for the upside-down flag at your home shortly after the January 6th riot, which, of course, annihilated my birthday celebration. Not bitter. But it turns out you really are the flag flyer in the family. Now, Martha, we know you insist your husband never controls you, and we believe that. But he's already taking heat for accepting an extraordinary number of gifts. Not quite Clarence Thomas's $4 million worth, but $170,000 is still respectable. Maybe give the man a break for being industrious enough to work that part-time collection job. But back to fun with flags. You mentioned hanging a white flag with flames and the word shame in Italian to counteract the pride flag that flies across the lagoon from you. Aren't you worried that people will assume the shame is on you, seeing as the flag will be displayed in front of your house? We can safely assume the pride flaggers are a single-sex couple that throws spectacular parties you never get invited to. But just saying, she who flies it, tries it. When your husband retires and you are, and I quote, free of this nonsense. Oh, and then you said, quote, I'm putting it up and I'm going to send them a message every day, maybe every week. I'll be changing the flags. My son and I brainstormed about what flags you might fly. Matt thought perhaps one of Jesus, casually tossing a stone in the air with one winking eye and a nod to let he without sin cast the first stone. Clearly, neither the justice nor you will fall into that category, so you'd have to leave the stoning of the homosexuals to Jesus when he finally returns to establish his kingdom on earth. You aren't particularly young, Martha Ann, so sadly you'll probably miss that show. The couple across the lagoon wouldn't even notice your flag because I doubt they waste 1 second of their precious lives thinking about you. Matt did offer his sympathy. He feels you're probably lonely at your vacation home with your husband off in D.C. finding new and exciting ways to postpone making decisions about Donald Trump and stripping women of their hard-earned rights, and all those fancy parties across the water that you're excluded from. Matt thought maybe, just maybe, Martha Ann, to salvage your summer, you could make a nice big white flag of surrender, hang it up, make a tray of veggie lasagna and some macaroons, row it all across to your neighbors and introduce yourself. I'm sure that's what Jesus would do. He shunned no one aside from the hypocrite money changers and dove sellers in the temple, overturning their stands and shouting, "Is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations?" Someone clearly must have edited out the part that said, except for queer nation. But you do you. Let your no freaks allowed flag fly this Flag Day, but skip the cocktail and hang that baby right side up. Your husband is already very busy explaining his part-time job to the taxpayers who fund his $300,000 salary for his primary seasonal job. Sometimes you just have to sell your soul to make the big bucks. All satire aside, I sincerely hope you can find so much joy in your own life that you no longer worry about how other people choose to live theirs. We are all unique and capable of making decisions as to what makes us truly happy, and we are fortunate enough to live in a country where that right to pursue happiness is protected. I wish you much peace and joy to you and yours, and happy Flag Day. Sincerely, the Yankee Farm Wife.